Through the ups and downs, we stand tall in this journey of growth. Day by day, through the ups and downs, we stand tall in.
Don't get me started, Jules. Don't get me started.
Good intro.
I
Okay.
forgot the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I
Drinking
was
out of
going
my
to ask
Sports
you a
Direct mug.
question.
See,
Well, that
I'd like to know how many people use their Sports Direct mug. I've had this mug probably 10 years, and I think this is the first time I've used it. It's only because I wanted a big mug because I'm in the loft and I want to. I don't want to have to go downstairs and get another cup.
so with regards to mugs, is big better than thick?
Not all the time. Oh, hold on. What are we talking about here? It's a bit early, Jules.
Have you got some mugs that work well and some that don't work so well, as in some that keep your drink hotter than others?
I don't really think about it because I drink cold coffee, so I'll have this. If I wasn't drinking it, I'd have this all morning, and I'll just keep drinking out of it. If I have a big mug, like big cup of coffee, I'll just drink it, even if it's cold. I'll drink it all morning.
I do the same actually, but do you prefer it warm?
Well, I like it when it starts off warm. Like I wouldn't like it to start off cold, but if I know it started off warm, then that's fine.
Do you heat it up in the microwave?
I have done, and I feel really bad when I do it. I really don't like doing that
I do that sometimes too with my tea. Why do you feel bad?
because I know that it's not good. The microwaves in the coffee. I don't microwave a lot of things.
Yeah, then I wish I didn't have a microwave, to be honest.
But then, like we've said before, there's a lot of
To
other
be
worse things that I do. TBH, there's a lot of other things that I do, like eat a bag of M&Ms, and then I worry about putting my food in the microwave. Ultra processed food over microwaves.
I wonder what's worse.
What? Oh, I don't know. I don't care. That's what the answer is. Because I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay, so we're talking about honesty. Would the world be a better place if everyone spoke their minds?
Would it?
Would the world be a better place if everyone were honest? So, is there a little prompt I've got here is there too much? Is there such a thing as too much radical honesty? And the example is, I don't like your cooking, or your baby kind of looks like Winston Churchill.
I'd say that as a
rude to Winston Churchill,
no,
isn't it?
subjective. But if somebody told me my baby looked like, I was like, what, a born leader that's going to save this country? Tally ho.
Some people don't believe that,
Don't they?
No.
I told you I used to work with his great grandson.
Did
I
you?
think I have mentioned it on here before. I'm sure I have.
No,
I
you
mentioned
haven't.
it too many. I mention it too many times in my everyday life. I know
I'm
that
not
for
sure
sure.
you've actually. Oh, maybe you have. Tell me about his great grandson.
I did not know him. I just worked with him at a bank. I didn't know him at all. I just worked with him at a highly prestigious bank many years ago, and he was a very, very nice man who looked a lot like his great grandfather.
Did he talk about his great grandfather?
No, he didn't at all. It was just you knew because of his surname, and people were like pointed out. So not at all. No, but he was. He spoke very much like him. And he looked very much like him, and he was a very nice man. It's very nice to me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what's
I
that
think.
got to do?
What about I don't like your cooking?
I don't like your cooking. I would say you're a liar.
Would you say that to someone?
It's subjective, though, isn't it? If
No,
somebody said
I
they didn't
don't like your
right,
cooking.
so
Isn't subjective.
if they came round to other people could, because I could just be like, well, that's just you that doesn't like it. Everyone else here likes it.
Would you say it to somebody else?
Would I say it to someone else? Yes, I have done. Yeah, my stepdad's cooking is terrible, and I used to get gaslit into saying it was nice. I was like, no, it's not. It's horrible. It's terrible. He's a trained chef, so still shit.
But you didn't like it.
No.
So how important?
Awful.
How important to friendship do you think is honesty?
But I think I think that there is. You definitely should.
Could.
You could have to being kind. There's no need to be unnecessary. Like say going back to the cooking thing, right? Say I come to your house, you invite me to your house, and you've put on a massive effort and you've made, to your best, like whatever that is, or even just invited me into your home and I come to your home, just because I don't like your food doesn't mean that I should tell you I don't like your food. Like certain things and certain times, could be choose not to say things like that because of upsetting somebody or hurting their feelings in a way that they've put their best intentions and their heart and soul into something, and therefore I don't believe that you could tell them that I say that a lot, that their food isn't very nice or you don't like their food.
So leaving the superficial at the door, like the stuff like that, don't like your food. How important is honesty or honest expression in maintaining deep friendship?
In friendship point of view, definitely, I think you should be, and definitely. No, I think with you and there's not much. There's certain things that I haven't necessarily told you, which I think I said to you yesterday in a message. But it's not. They're not dishonest things. They're just things I haven't said to you yet, and not about you, about me. So it's all about me. So I don't think, yeah, I think it's important. It's important to be honest with your close friends, definitely. But then it's backfired on me a number of times when I have been honest, and but to be, I suppose, helpful, if that's considered helpful, or yeah, and it has backfired on me.
What about honesty in how you feel about something? Like if someone does something that makes you like that kind of gets you feeling something, whether
Like
it's
what?
like whether something annoys you or upsets you or
If they're close friends, I definitely do tell them. I don't hold back. Because, but then I don't think you. Would you hold back? Is there something that you'd hold back from me?
no. No, but I think I'm navigating a couple of like wibbly wobbly paths with a couple of people, I feel like, at the moment. And sometimes I think, oh, like how honest do you get? Like I've got one friend who kind of irritates me a lot, but that's kind of me and I not them. And sometimes I tell them and sometimes I don't. But like I think it makes the friendship quite difficult because I think we both irritate each other.
So then, in
But the
that
problem is,
case, then is that a friendship?
well, I don't know. It's a good question, but I think that the problem is a lack of being able to accept each other as they are, and also a desire to accept the other person as they are. So not
Well,
trying to
that's it,
change
isn't it?
them.
But do you then have a point in time where you've perhaps moved on from a friendship because your values don't match each other? Because it does come down to that sometimes. And
Um,
like, if you can't have a constructive conversation with somebody about something, because we don't agree on everything. There's certain things that we don't agree on, but we don't have. We'll have conversations. I'll be like, "Well, what's your point of view?" So, and you'll come back to me and say, "I'll be like, right, okay, still don't think you're right, but I understand where you're coming from, but I wouldn't shoot you down at all."
yeah,
And the same
actually, it's
goes
not
the other way
values.
around.
It's not values. It's more behaviour on the part of this other person. And there was a time
Okay.
when they did do something that hurt me, and I did say, "This
Mm.
has hurt me,"
And did
and it
that
was
work?
taken on board. Yeah,
Mm.
it did. Yeah, it was. That was a good thing. Um, but yeah, there's another friendship where I have been honest. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because sometimes the honesty isn't like well, sometimes honesty isn't met with people don't always go, oh, okay, and then change anything.
Mm.
Sometimes the friendship stays. But in that particular friendship, it's about honesty about with regards to kind of not people pleasing, not just agreeing, and I do think
Yeah,
that's important.
yeah, definitely. And I think especially when you're with somebody that you've got a deep friendship with, and there's always been that honesty there. When you are then honest about something like I had with one of my, I would have considered very, very close friends, and when I did say something that I would expect them to say to me as
Mm,
well, if it was the other way round, they did not take it very well. And I wasn't, you know, like
yeah.
having put on pointing and having a go. It was not like that at all. It was more conversational. and from a point of love more than anything else. And it wasn't taken that way. And well, I presume it wasn't taken that way because I haven't heard from them really since. So,
It's
but
really
then,
interesting.
yeah.
In the authentic relating training, we did a lot of this, expressing how you feel authentically. And there's a very formal that's the wrong word, but there's a structure to doing this effectively. But I don't think that comes naturally in one-to-one
Okay.
conversations.
What's the structure?
Well, there's a variety of different structures, but
Does it depend on who you're talking to and
no, it
how
depends
close you
on.
are?
Well, really, we practiced through exercises, so we just did loads of different exercises. Some of them were like, one was, I notice when I'm with you, I feel. And the other one was something like, it's a lot of I notice. So, for example, if you said something that irritated me, for example, you could say something like, "Oh, I noticed when you said whatever, I had a physical reaction in my body, and I'm just wondering why, whatever." But that doesn't come naturally to me in everyday conversation,
Yeah.
and I do feel like sometimes if I were to say that to a friend, they might say, "What? Who are you?"
Yeah, and also I would think if I had a reaction like that, I'd be questioning myself. But is that wrong? Or like, say if you said something to me that wasn't necessarily meant to be like that was an honest thing, and then I'd just be like, "Oh, God, she's probably right." Oh,
Well,
I hit
no,
hard,
I think that
and
is the
I'd probably
point.
go away and think about it.
No. I think it is the point. You're making it about you. So, like the reaction you had your friend when you were honest to your friend,
Mm,
your honesty based was based on your own opinions and beliefs,
yeah,
not on who they are.
yeah,
So
that's
when
true.
you take
Yeah,
it to you, like, oh, I notice when you tell me about this, I feel blah blah blah, and you could say like, and I wanted to ask some more questions about that, or and I'm wondering whether you
and that
mean
puts it
blah blah blah.
onto yourself rather than them.
Yeah,
Ah, okay, I understand. But yeah, I've never done that.
no, it's hard. It's hard.
But then is that authentic?
Well, yeah, because you're talking about you. Like, it's not
Yeah, because it
authentic
is
to.
about yeah.
It's less authentic to. I think that's where, like, what this is about. This honesty thing is about expressing
Mm,
how you feel rather than what you think about them.
mm,
Like, why do you
yeah.
feel that?
And I have with that same person, I have she did something a couple of years ago, and it really upset me to the point of I was like really upset. And I did. It took me a while, but I did tell her, and she didn't realise that what she'd done, and it was, you know, and did
Yeah,
apologise. So yeah, so there was that connection there where you could have those conversations, I suppose. But yeah. So do you think there's a point where you should be more on, or you could be more honest?
me personally,
Yeah. Do you think in some relationships, or do you think that there's points where you maybe um, censor yourself
definitely, 100%.
with friends?
With everyone, yeah. Not. I mean, I'm trying. I think sometimes um, flipping into old patterns of behaviour affects it.
Mm,
For a start, like when you're just caught unaware and you don't even take a moment to think about what you're really feeling, or feeling that, how everything's so quick in today's world, like message, you get a message and you respond, and people don't, I don't always take the time to stop and think, what am I actually
yeah.
feeling? And do you remember we had that conversation, I think last week, about how sometimes I'll read something one way and then go back to it months later and realize that it wasn't written in that way at all. And so
Yeah.
recognizing that everything I read or everything I hear from other people is based on what's going on in my mind at the time.
Mm,
And so I could feel and react one way now, and then tomorrow, after I've let what happened process, I could feel and react a completely different way. But that might be based on my mood now compared to my mood tomorrow.
Yeah, how much sleep you've had.
Yeah, food I've eaten, exercise I've done.
Yeah, that is very true.
So, that's, I think a lot of people don't, well, maybe I'm just projecting my stuff, but a lot of people don't know what's really on their mind. What do you think? Do you think do we react with full self-awareness or not, do you reckon?
Not all the time, definitely not.
Is that something you think about?
Not really.
Would you want to?
I don't feel with the friendship group that I've got currently that I need to censor myself as such.
No, but are you
Like I
fully
don't
aware of what you're feeling?
of what I'm feeling. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's what I mean.
Yeah. Not all the time. I don't think. No. I think you definitely get caught up in your own stuff. I don't know that I necessarily understand my feelings all the time either.
No.
Definitely not.
I wonder
And I do
how.
need, like you say, you sort of look at something and then you think, oh, that was, or like I suppose, like micro expressions or things that you see in other people that you don't necessarily, that you could take the wrong way because of, wrong time of the month, right time of the month, depending on how you want to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do. It's like to like Pete. I'd be like, it's the right time of the month, and and that's why I'm saying this. And you've upset me because I think, and I suppose if I'm feeling that way because I understand how. Yeah, I suppose if I understand why I'm feeling like that, say something. I don't know. I've had a bad phone call or something's happened, then you can understand why you're feeling that way. But then if you're just responding to something, everything's in neutral, and then you respond to something and you don't understand why. I don't know. What do you think? Is there an example you can give of what you think?
Well, I think you've given a good example. I know for sure that I don't always react with full self-awareness. And that's because sometimes I react too quickly, I think. But if I were to take the time, although I'm not sure people are always given the time, yeah, something's just coming to my mind, but I'm not going to talk about it on here. But yeah, I'm not sure.
You're censoring yourself.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm always fully self-aware of what I'm feeling. Definitely not. It's good to take
Yeah.
time. I don't give myself time really. The only time I try to protect, though I didn't even do it this morning, but is when I do my stretching in the morning. I try to not let myself, well, I don't switch the phone on before I've done that. So when I'm stretching, that's kind of 20 minutes of mindfulness really, where I have the opportunity to focus on what I'm feeling. Journaling's helpful for that, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't done much of that lately.
No, me neither.
No. I've been more note taking than I have journaling. I've noticed I've been looking in my diary, my academic one, which I must order another one. Yes, I've been doing more note taking.
Notes of?
Just things that I'm doing in the day rather than like more to-do lists than I have been writing things down. I like to keep a note of things I'm doing each day, whether or not that's but I don't know that that's necessarily making myself more self-aware. I think sometimes as well you can get caught up in I don't know, perhaps yourself a bit more than like have a few days where you're just self-absorbed, which isn't a bad thing either. Where you're sort of trying to process things that have come up.
And do you think when that happens, you
I
fail to notice
personally,
what's going on around you?
definitely, yeah. I find it really difficult to when I'm trying to process something that's perhaps come up like something came up last week, which I talked to you about, but I don't want to talk about on here. It was a reminder of something, and it completely knocked me out for 2 days, I'd say. Like the I don't know, the stirring up of things, and it took me 2 days to get back to the normal level.
Do you
Therefore, I
think
think if somebody had come at me in those 2 days, I would have definitely reacted differently to being level.
do you track your cycle? Because I've noticed that there's a
Yeah, but I don't. And you have said this to me, and I do think that I should do that more.
couple of days in the month where I notice I'm really kind of distracted, almost like brain. You know, people talk about brain fog. It's like I can't hold a focus on anything. And I noticed this was happening, and I didn't know if there was any pattern to it, and I started noting that down, and I think that is related to my cycle. It's just a couple of days each
Mm.
month, and yeah, I've not noticed. That's the
Yeah,
first
see, I
time in my
don't think
life I've
about it.
noticed that.
Yeah, see, I suppose I don't think about it. Like, mine's more reactional to situations,
Yeah, but it could
but
be
it
that.
could be. Yeah, might have if it was at a different time in my cycle, I might then have felt
Yeah,
differently about it. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I think cycle tracking is so important. When I talk at the hypnotherapy conference this year, I'm talking about the importance of the female menstrual cycle in therapy.
Mm. Oh,
I
I
think it's
didn't know that
so
you were talking.
relevant.
I didn't know that's what your subject was.
Well, I entered two. Addiction was the other one, but they
Ah,
didn't seem to
yeah,
want
yeah.
that.
That's it. That's it.
I think the
Okay.
addiction one is really important, but maybe they don't think I'm worthy of talking about addiction. Little do they know.
You will laugh.
But no, I think the menstrual cycle one is super important. So I'm
Yeah,
fine. I'm
yeah.
fine
I'm
with it.
I'm going to start tracking that. But yeah, I do think. But then, so do you think that affects your friendships then, without ruining your what you're going to be talking about at the hypnotherapy conference?
I
Do
don't
you think that
personally know,
no,
but
you don't think it affects how you respond to things?
um, well, no, it probably does, but I don't know that it necessarily affects my friendships. I think I managed to pull
Mm.
it back the rest of the month.
Yeah,
Those few days is fine.
it'll all be fine.
It's yeah. That Maisie Hill in her book. Well, I don't know if it's in the book Period Power or if it's on her podcast. She talks about kind of really her whole family. No, I think it's in their family diary where she's at in her cycle, so that they know where she's at when she's at it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea, right? When I years and years ago, God, no, you finish what you were saying. You're saying, sorry, I interrupted you.
that's mostly it. It's just that when she's at certain points, they know to just leave her alone, for her to be able to just go to her bedroom and I think that's brilliant. You know, if everyone you associated knew, so
Yeah,
like if all of I could put a WhatsApp status, what a great idea.
well,
Days whatever
yeah.
to whatever, not
I
do not
um I
contact.
had I had a boss once back in the 90s who had a you know, you when you were or you had those desk calendars
Yeah,
on your desk, and he wrote down when all of the women were on their periods on his desk calendar,
amazing.
so that he knew when to just get like or keep away from Angela on that day. Well, because we'd all be like, oh, because it was a trading floor, right? So
Yeah,
you just told the blokes, just leave me alone, I'm on my period, go away. And he started tracking it and putting a note down. And he was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, I think that's a great idea. He can stay away from me on those 2 days because I'd probably end up throwing something at him.
yeah.
That back in the days where you were allowed to throw things at each other in the office.
I bet the attitude towards it wasn't quite the same as it
No,
wasn't quite as
it
compassionate as
wasn't
it could
accept. No,
be.
no, no,
But
no. His point was, that he didn't want to like piss any of the women off. But then I think that I don't think that's a bad thing.
yeah, but
Uh,
maybe behind closed doors, he was aware that the women during that time should be like just given a bit of space, not to affect like it sounds like it was coming from him, like I don't want anything thrown at me, but rather than that woman needs some time to herself and some time to just be. That would be a nicer perspective, but it doesn't matter. The the idea is still there, but also
Yeah.
but every woman's different. Some women feel like it's different at different points for every woman. So some woman during her period might feel like great, whereas other women, and she might feel it more before the period.
Yeah. I don't think it was necessarily. I think it was more so he didn't get shouted at.
Yeah, but either
He was
way,
he
it
was a
gave them
nice man.
space.
He wasn't like, but these days, can you imagine if he had that sort of thing? Yeah, given all of the um,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
So, what role do you think culture plays in how freely we speak our minds?
what role does culture play? As in what Western versus
Well, just the culture we live in. I mean, if we go back
how
to the
big are we going
beginning of
here?
time, go back to the beginning of humans as we know them, when people lived in those communities.
You're the expert on this,
I'm
and
becoming an
given
expert.
yeah, and given are you talking freely about your project at the
Well,
moment or not?
I did the other day, but I didn't on
Oh,
here,
okay.
but not,
I can't remember.
Um, people would have lived in their groups, and
Mm.
everyone would have known everything about everyone because you would have been one. They would have been one. There was a time when my friend and I were with one of her friends who is this hilarious girl. Oh my God, you should meet her. You'd love her. I think she is brilliant. She's Polish. Is she Polish? Hungary? I can't remember. Eastern European. And I can't do the accent, and I'll try. And we were talking, and we were loading some stuff up and doing some heavy graft. And I think my friend hadn't done anything, and this other girl and I had done everything. And she looked at my friend and she just went, "Don't you know we are one?" We always laugh about it now. We are one. Um, but back then, we were one.
Communist.
Like we lived in the community
Yeah.
of people, and we had to live as one. The our ancestors, the primitive humans, they had to live as one because they had to hunt together and forage together and build
Maybe she was
together
a
and craft together.
maybe the other person was a more of a forager than a lifter,
No, no, what my
or just
friend?
did nothing.
No, the other.
No, the person who did nothing.
That's my friend. The
Oh,
we are one, and she was like properly like she was lifting everything. She was like a Trojan, had the whole lot in her arms, and I helped a lot as well. Whilst my friend like disappeared into the forest, gone for the entire time until it
up the
took
tree.
pack everything up, and then appeared. We are one. I can't remember actually if that was
Oh,
the, but um, but I think she was referring to human beings and working together and how we had to as a tribe, and so everyone knew everything because if you didn't know everything, then we were screwed. Like you needed to know everything about everything and everyone. But now, suddenly, it's like people just if you say something to someone that they don't like, they just cut you out of their life. It's like so it's now so easy and accepted and encouraged to just shut people out because they've said something you don't like.
mm.
In my opinion, so I think you have to be so careful in how you navigate things in case
But
someone
then, do
just
you think?
shuts you out.
But then, do you think it's because people don't want to have those conversations? Like before, you wouldn't be able to shut someone out because you'd be living right near each other and you
Mm,
would be able to avoid it. Whereas now, because you're not close to each other, you can avoid those difficult conversations
yeah, it's avoidance.
that perhaps you need to have, and perhaps you need somebody close to you telling you. Because there's many times you've pulled me up on things, and I've been like, "Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about it from that point of view." When I'm spiraling into some sort of like in my own head, and
Mm.
then I'll say something to you perhaps, and you'll be like, "Oh," Don't let them have
Yeah.
your power, kind of thing. That's in that conversation, that. So you perhaps need people to be honest with you in those situations to help you. And then
Do
if you're not,
you think honesty is so? As you know, but I won't share publicly. I've got a friend at the moment who's going through some stuff, and the what I've picked up, because I know a lot of this person's other friends, is that everyone is feeling uncomfortable with the way she's navigating her personal situation and doesn't think what she's doing is right. And everyone is telling her this, but she's not listening to anyone. But then my perspective is she doesn't have to listen to anyone. It's her personal situation. It's up to her what she does. But I'm sure there's some people involved. So I have only had communication with two of her friends, but one of them has communicated with two other friends. So I know that there's at least kind of 5 people thinking the same thing. But there may be other people who are just not saying anything at all. So I don't know how many people she's got around her and who she's talking to about this, but maybe it's just the 5 that I've mentioned, in which case everyone's saying the same thing. But maybe there's another 5 who are kind of not saying it, who are not being honest, who are just kind of people pleasing and saying and just not saying anything. But do you think, I mean, this person hasn't cut any of us out. So even though we've all said stuff that she doesn't agree with, she hasn't cut us out. But do you think sometimes someone can be honest and you kind of you get shut out, or you shut them out because you didn't like what they said, but then after processing that for a few weeks, you can kind of come back and say, actually, maybe that was right.
yeah. Yeah, no, I do think that's if personally, if somebody was to be, and I thought, oh, but then I think if it's something that important and I am stuck on how, and I've really thought about it, then perhaps not.
Yeah.
If I believe it that strongly, I wouldn't let anyone else change my beliefs. But again, critical thinking. Have I got weighed up all of what's right and wrong, and whether and obviously then it's their life. Not saying
I think I'm coming from the opposite perspective. So in this situation I've just spoken about, it's felt safe enough to be honest.
Mm,
But I think in a lot of similar situations, culture would prevent me from being honest,
mm.
but not the culture in the sense that I would fear that they would cut me out, and for because that relationship brings lots of positives, I wouldn't want to be cut out, so I might hold
Is
back
that
on
healthy?
honesty. Well, I think it's more letting someone live their own life rather than telling them what I think.
Mm.
Um, but what about if like you say, what if that isn't healthy, and then you um, just let took the risk? Do you
I have
think
done
people
that.
can? Yeah, and then do people come back?
Who knows?
Yeah.
I haven't closed any doors.
Hmm. Do you think culture affects how freely people speak their minds in general?
I think some people who aren't perhaps educated in the same, not educated, that sounds really stuck up, but perhaps don't have access to the information or know how to access the information to think about things broadly, um, might get offended by the way that you speak to them.
But do you think culture stops people speaking their mind in
Yes,
general?
100%, yes. Because the way that, if particularly people are on social media, the views on there are, a lot of them are badly researched or not researched, depending on your echo chamber as well. So who do you listen to? Who do you believe? You might like, say, I don't know, um, uh, Joe Rogan, for example, because first name that comes to my head, but it doesn't mean that everything that he says is absolutely correct. You know, he likes cold plunges and red light therapy, both good things, but not if you are in a severe, you know, if your nervous system's shot to pieces. Having a cold plunge in the morning is just going to make you spiral even more. Perhaps you need a warm bath. Can you, you know,
But he
can you
speaks
think
his
like that?
mind.
Hmm.
So culture hasn't
But
stopped him.
culture hasn't stopped him because he's at the top of he is, but like, so this is another thing that leads into this. If we're talking to this from a broader aspect, he's financially free. He is, and that plays a big part into it. If you're talking about being honest about things, he is at the top of his game. He doesn't have to worry about consequences of what he's talking about. There aren't really any consequences for somebody like Joe Rogan, are there?
Mm.
And he's not unfair in what he's saying. He's not, you know, that he's not radical,
Do you think he
I
has
would say.
well, do you reckon then he holds stuff back? Do you reckon he is radical at home, but he holds stuff back so that he doesn't appear radical
I don't
or
know.
extreme, you know?
Yeah, perhaps. But then there's things that you and I would joke about that we would never say on here. And this is the thing where I think about humour, where humour comes into it. And I'm not going to mention I'll tell you afterwards. But a podcast that I listened to last night, and I was laughing out loud. But it was something extremely inappropriate that I would never ever talk about on a podcast. But I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But then that's you know, I'd obviously, you know, some of the things that this podcast I listen to talks about is, and to me, I just think it's humour. But then, how far do you? Because I know I've offended people with my humour before. Wrong, choose your audience type thing, which I
Yeah.
say, you know.
Some people take things very seriously, but then I take
Yeah,
certain things very seriously and you take certain things very seriously.
exactly.
There's things you wouldn't find funny, there's things I wouldn't
No,
find funny.
no,
So that makes things quite difficult.
yeah,
But
because
that's,
yeah.
I guess that's the way we live, is going back again to the way we live.
Mm. But this is why I think how did people use humour before?
Probably not at the expense of each other.
No, like the court jester, for example. That was a form of humour at one point, wasn't it? And then, yeah, I wonder how,
How the
because I
tribe.
think I
I'll
use
ask the
humour as
tribe.
my wind down. Yeah, can you ask the tribe? Because humour for me is what I use. I suppose, is it escapism or is it wind down or is it just part of you?
I think the thing to remember is you might not have needed escapism or winding down if you lived in alignment with nature.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, if it didn't factor in then, should it factor in now? Should humour be banished?
Well, you
Comedians
can't.
be banished.
You could only. You'd have to adjust a lot more, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Or as Gabor Maté was saying, no screens, get your kids outside with sticks and mud
He
and
is.
puddles.
So
He
you
the
sent me
man.
that. So you sent me yesterday a little reel of Gabor Maté talking about how he doesn't believe children should have screens at all, and he says put them outside. I think he said a stick in a puddle, didn't he?
Stick in a
But
puddle, yeah.
a stick in a puddle, which I 100% agree with. I love Gabor Maté and what he says, but he
Mm.
is so melancholy. I almost had to switch it off halfway through because I was like, oh, you are hard to watch because you are so traumatized.
Because when I then spoke to Pete about this, who's very middle ground about everything, and or not, and he said he thinks that it would put the children at a disadvantage if they didn't know how to, if they were, because that's not how the modern world works.
Lots of people
That's an
say that.
uneducated view.
I would say it's fairly uneducated. I mean, lots of people say that, But
It's difficult to have those conversations. That's one that's a difficult to have those conversations when you're trying to tell people, not tell people, you're trying to influence people into not letting their children have screens that young. I didn't have to do that because I didn't have my daughter was past all that by the time that all came out. So thankfully, I didn't have to navigate that. But nowadays, if you're in the school system, then and you don't have a phone. Because I was asking, are they all as well, like writing? Because when I'm left-handed, so when I was at school writing, you had to do calligraphy and stuff like that, and I couldn't do it properly. And my daughter's dad is left-handed as well, and you were forced to write in a certain way. And nowadays, they have iPads. They don't even have written, do they? So they're not even getting that,
being in the
you
school
know.
system and not having a phone, I don't think is the end of the world. But they all have
Mm.
iPads.
Electronics, yeah.
Or they the school local to me, they have to have an iPad. There's no
Yeah.
option.
When Sean went to college, she had to have an iPad. Yeah, you had to get her an iPad for college.
And that, I think, is wrong on so many. Well, I don't know, but I get the point. This is how they do things, but I just think I don't agree with screens in bedrooms, as you know, like regardless of the age. I just think they're not a tool to have in a bedroom, because of the light pollution and the doom scrolling and the just the addiction to them. Not making it harder to go to sleep at a time that will give you enough sleep. So I don't think that we should have screens in bedrooms. But if you give a child an iPad to do their homework on, so many children probably do their homework in the bedroom. I used to. Maybe it would be better for parents to have their children do their homework downstairs. But if it's a
I couldn't think
distracting
of anything worse.
environment, well, yeah. I mean, Ezra and Shiloh do their work downstairs. They're used to it and they're fine with it. But I did used to do mine in my bedroom, so that would be in the
So did
bedroom with an
I.
iPad. I don't agree with it. I don't think it put. I personally, I was listening to that. I don't know if you've listened to it yet on the Diary of a CEO. There's an AI debate.
Oh no, I haven't.
I started listening to it. I haven't finished it yet, but there was something on there about how.
I have started listening to a book on that actually. Mo Goda on that. Go on. Sorry,
Well,
carry on.
I think that AI is going to take over a lot of jobs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it was something when they were talking about coding, and it was kind of saying AI is going to mean that people don't have to learn coding. Some people find it really difficult to learn, but with
But
AI,
yeah, but I think that also I was talking to one of my bosses yesterday who is an expert in all coding, and he's a mathematical genius, and he was saying about it's for lazy coders because he said you can do basic stuff in there. He said, but if you're a in-depth coder, it doesn't get it right all the time, and it's only as good as the information you put in, as it is for how we use it.
well,
But will
absolutely.
it learn,
But
and then will it take over?
everyone will just become lazy coders, and isn't that like everything? So you look at your website, you look at my website, you look at the website of almost every small business, and they're as they are, and then you look at the website of like Coca-Cola or Nike. Their websites are always going to be miles ahead.
Yeah.
90% of the websites on the internet, because they're a bigger company. So would it not just end up like that? Like 90% of the world will be lazy coding, for example, and 10% will be really good, but we won't really notice the lazy because 90% is lazy.
Yeah, you could call us lazy coders.
Yeah. So I
It's
don't
just
think.
progression, isn't it?
Well, I don't think that AI will. I think AI will take so much away that that we won't need the technological stuff anymore. So I don't think kids not having a screen will put them at a disadvantage. They need the creative stuff. Like, surely they're going to be more at a disadvantage by not being able to communicate because all they do is stare at a screen, not being able to think for themselves because all they do is use the screen, not being able to do all the things that the screen stops them from doing, not even being able to like Gabor Mate said, entertain themselves because
Yeah,
all they do
because
is
it
stare
was
at a
like
screen.
before when I was a kid, it's like, I'm bored, go and draw a picture,
Yeah.
go and draw something,
I'm sure that the disadvantage that,
go
or
and
the
play outside.
positives they get from, oh, hold on, how to phrase this? The disadvantages from staring at a screen all the time will be greater than the advantages of knowing how to use it, but not having all the other normal natural abilities because the
Mm.
screen's taken them away.
And then do you think that will then mean that they'll then be able to speak their minds more?
They'll be able to understand how they're feeling more because they're not numbing it with a computer. They'll be able to process, like when they're outside with a stick and a puddle, they're going through processes, aren't they, in their mind?
Yeah.
At least their brain's working naturally when they're doing that. It's like sleep. We process, like sleep has a process, and we process all of our thoughts and consolidate all of our learnings and everything while we're asleep. If you don't get it, you don't do it. It doesn't. I mean, it obviously, if you don't sleep, like if you literally don't sleep, then you die. But if you take sleeping tablets, for example, they sedate you rather than have you sleep, so your brain doesn't
Mm.
go through that process. People feel not great when they're taking sleeping tablets, but not to the extent that they don't realize that their brain's not having this process. And
Yeah.
I think it's the same when people are just staring at a screen, like it's preventing your brain from going through certain processes which you don't notice are happening when you're outside with a stick and a puddle. But surely in the future, those who have gone through the natural processes have got a better brain development than those who have just sat in front of a screen.
And how do you know that how do you know that your brain's developed properly?
How do you know your brain's developed properly?
Yeah, like if
Don't
you're
know.
saying that kids, that how would you know if your child's got a
I guess
like
all the
could be
mental health problems we have today are a good indicator of
mm.
that.
But do you think then that speaking your mind is a form of self-regulation then when it comes to that side of things?
No, but I think if you're self-regulated, you can understand what you're feeling, and then you can. I
Yeah.
think I think there's a difference between speaking your mind um, and knowing why you're saying what you're saying.
Mm.
I don't think sometimes the words that come out of people's mouths, including my own, are what I'm actually feeling or what I'm actually thinking. They're like a knee-jerk reaction. But if I took some time outside with a stick and a puddle, I might be able to
I
work
might
out
just
what
say
I'm
that something. Just
actually.
gonna pop out, I need to find a puddle and shove a stick in a puddle.
Yeah, but if you stand there, that's like a
Yeah.
it's like a meditation. I could imagine it. I know that we're talking a bit like metaphorically here, but um, if you did imagine someone standing there swirling a stick in a puddle for half an hour, it's like a meditation.
Yeah.
You could definitely come out the other side of that with some more self-awareness, and then you speak your truth, not your mind.
Yeah. Have you ever regretted anything you've said to anyone?
Yeah, I once told my friend's boyfriend. Have I told you this before? Do you know
No.
what I'm going to say?
No.
my friend once said to me, she was talking about boyfriends. This was when we were teenagers. She said, "No one will ever be good enough for you." She felt no one would ever be good enough for me in her eyes
Mm.
because I was on like a pedestal for her. She didn't think that I could ever meet anyone who would be good enough for me, if that
That's a
makes sense.
compliment.
I took it as a compliment. But I then failed in my passing that compliment on when I said it to my friend's boyfriend. No one will ever be another friend.
Right,
No
okay.
one will ever be good enough for my friend to her
Yeah.
boyfriend. And he did not take it as a compliment because obviously I said it to the wrong
Wrong
person.
person.
and I regret it because that person was really
they
upset.
married. And
Yeah, my
Ah,
friend, my
I
friend
think
phoned me. My friend phoned me after I'd said it and said he'd been really, really upset by my comment, and she didn't like that I'd said that.
oh
And so I
no.
didn't like it. I felt uncomfortable with the fact that I'd said it in the first place. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, she did marry that friend, that boyfriend. And I would say that he is a really great husband and father. And, you know,
Mm.
I do regret it because I know that I think he has held on to that and probably still thinks I believe that. And I think I have apologised, but I don't think I've really apologised properly.
Yeah, as in like, yes. But yeah. What made you say that though?
Well, felt it was such a compliment when my friend said it to me. I
You
thought it
thought
was
you'd
quite
use it,
cool.
but you didn't know
This
any
was
better,
all
like
as
as
a
in,
teenager. Like this wasn't
yeah,
as
yeah,
an
that's what I
adult.
mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I didn't
Doesn't
really
count.
know any better. And then I don't want you to think I did this when I was 35 to like,
Yeah. You're not good enough, Ray. You never will be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and he was acting like a bit of an idiot. Like, don't get me wrong, he wasn't a great boyfriend at the time.
Mm. So therefore, was it, you weren't wrong at the time.
At the time, but this just goes to show, isn't it? I learned that you should never tell anyone that kind of stuff because um, it comes back to bite you in the bum.
Mm. Doesn't it just?
Yeah. What about you?
Um, I don't know. I suppose sometimes I suppose I'd say things quite a lot. Like I say things out loud. And I'm like, and I think I've got worse as I've got older. Things that I say that, I suppose not necessarily. This is in general conversation with perhaps strangers as well. Like Sean says, I make things awkward sometimes. Like I'll say things to people. Like one of our, like, this is an example of the sort of thing that I'm trying to think of something that I've done lately. Oh, yeah, what I told you yesterday, but I can't say that on here. But yeah, when, so one of our neighbours was over at the shop and he's lovely. He's absolutely lovely. He lives next door but one. But anyway, he saw Sean in the shop and we don't like, we just say hello and kind of, we don't know each other that well. And he said, "Oh, so you work in London then?" To Sean, and she was like, "They were in the queue in the co-op." And Sean was like, "Yes, oh yes, because I see you out of the window, sort of, going every now and then. So you must like do part time." He's like, "Not that I watch you all the time or anything. I'm not sitting there looking out the window." But that's the kind of thing. Like that's an example because I can't think of one that I. But that's the sort of thing that I say. Or like, "Oh, that's." I tell you, that's an example. Lady, a couple of doors up. I don't know her in the slightest, but because I sit at my dining table and look out the window, I knew that she'd had a baby. And this was probably, I don't know, how old are they when they will start walking now? God, a year
Like
old,
one, yeah.
perhaps?
Now, like it's
Yeah.
changed. Screens have made it
So
change.
obviously she was walking, I was like, "Oh, hasn't he?" And I thought, I don't know her. And she was walking past, I was like, "Oh my goodness, he's got so big." And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, and I went back into Sean and I was like, "I don't even know her. Why did I say that? Like, I don't know her. All I do is say hello to her as I walk past."
But
I was
why
like,
would that be? Why would that be
because
strange?
Sean, and so Sean was like, "That's a really
I
weird
don't
thing to
think
say to
that's
somebody you don't
strange.
know."
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't
So
think
now I
so.
feel like I'm being censored by my daughter
But
because I say inappropriate things.
how do you feel about that then? When you're out and about, do you try and not be so inappropriate,
I
or do you
do
not
worry
care?
about it. I do worry about things I say to people, like in general, because I was like, Sean, that used to be fun. Like things that I say to people, like Sean's just like, she just sits, just go, what did she just say? And I can't think of some really good examples, but I just think they're funny. And she really doesn't. So is that a generational thing? Now, like you all think your parents are cringe or whatever, but yeah. Apparently, I just say inappropriate things that inside voices or inside. You should keep certain things in your head and not say them out loud.
Do you care? Like, where's your care? Do you worry that other people are thinking you're inappropriate?
I just think it's funny.
So then it's fine, isn't it?
Like oh no, I can't say this on what I said to somebody the other day. But anyway, yeah, there's lots of things that I say, but like they're in the right context with the right people. But when I say them back to Sian, she's like, you see, you said what? And I'm like, what? So I don't know if it's a generational thing. Do you think that's because we're older now? You know, like you think old people say stuff. Like if we're talking about honesty, they'll just come out with things, and you're like, whoa, you shouldn't be saying that. But you know, does this go down generations?
I don't know, but
What do you think?
well, do you think going back to you, if you say inappropriate things, do you think people should accept you as you are and not come
They're not
around you?
offensive. They're not offensive things. They're just things that perhaps other people would think of saying. Maybe it's eccentric.
Eccentric.
I'd like to think.
You need to change your clothes to be considered eccentric, I think.
Oh, there's lots of eccentric people around here. You sit on the corner of the bar and he's like, "Oh, no mirrors, no mirrors in here."
I like
You
I
like
like the
norms,
word
Gwen?
eccentric.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to be known as. I think.
What's the definition of eccentric?
I don't know. Should we ask our bud? How do you spell it? I'll have to. Unconventional, unusual, slightly odd.
Mm.
Especially in behaviour or appearance. It's often used to describe people who don't follow typical social norms, but not in a harmful way.
Mm. I'm going to start saying
So,
my eccentric friend Angela.
and therefore I shall be.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I just
One more question before we finish. Would more honesty create more conflict or more connection? More honesty in general from people in. Hey, do you think some people are not honest with you? Do you think you've got people
probably, yeah,
close to
yeah,
you who are not
definitely, yeah.
honest?
Yeah, I think there's probably people that or feel like they can't. I sometimes do think I'm not approachable when it comes to things like that.
Would you prefer
Definitely.
your people around you to be more honest?
It really doesn't bother me. I think people probably wouldn't want to be more honest with me because I've always got an answer to things.
Yeah, but when you say it doesn't bother you, does it not bother you that you could like have an hour conversation with someone and then they could get off the phone and have not meant anything they said?
I don't think I've got those sort of people around me. I could be wrong. You could get off the phone and be like, bloody hell.
Yeah, but you just said that you think people aren't honest with you.
Yeah, I think no, but as in, if they're not honest with me, then they're not in my circle of trust anymore.
Oh, right.
Historically,
So you think people should be honest?
yes, I do think people should be honest. What do you think?
I think people should be. Oh, I think the world would be so much easier if everyone was honest.
To a degree, like as in, it needs to be like honesty needs to be. I don't want to say kind because I'm kind of like, but I mean, it should be with best intentions.
I would like to think that anything I say, I would say in front of anyone, even if it were about the person,
Yes.
which I'm working on.
Yeah, nothing that you'd say behind their backs you wouldn't say to their faces.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like.
Even
Yeah,
if
from
it's not about
people.
them.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's about, like, obviously sometimes you might be, oh, like they've just done that and that's really annoying. But that's
Yeah,
like
not
being a bit
petty,
bitchy. But
silly, like, yeah.
well, I mean that too. But what I mean more is even if it's about, like, that sounds like talking about people behind their back. Like, I'd like to say that, I guess not always, because I might be more honest with closer friends than more distant friends in terms of myself and my feelings. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe what I try to go to people, if I have a problem with someone, I try to go to that someone rather than, when I was younger, perhaps I would have, like, a friend might have annoyed me, and then I might have called another friend and said, they've really annoyed me because they've just done it.
Yeah. Whereas
Now I'd rather
yeah.
just go to the friend that annoyed me and say,
Yeah.
something's really bothering me.
Yeah, or perhaps sit down, figure out what it is, and then go back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
So more honesty would create more connection. If everyone did that, it might be hard, and we'd have to push through some hard stuff, but it would definitely be better on the other side.
Definitely. I think that's a good exit point.
And it's right on 1 hour.
Oh, well done. Very honest of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're going to push the button.
Grow together, we'll grow.